Yeah, welcome again to the No Social Talk podcast. Today we have great guests. As you know, we at the No Social Talk podcast, we always bring you the best of the best, and we bring you people who are who knows what they're doing. They're professional in their business. But before we get to introduce our guests, I want to kind of just give a few notes, a few tasks for this podcast. Today, you know, we know that real estate is down. In general, I'm at least speaking in general, in the country, 2.7% down in sales. And that's because at this point, we don't have a lot of inventory. So as we know, inventory is down. It's tight for sellers who are out there. For those of you who are sellers and you're out there and you're looking to sell, now is the best time to sell because we don't have the inventory. We as realtors, inventory is tight. So for the fact that rates are up and inventory is down, we have a real tight market. So it's still a seller's market. Overall, just another tidbit, the market for actual sale, the average sale of a property right now in the U.S. is $371,000. So just another tidbit for you guys to know. And right now, I wanted you guys to know that right now on the market, we only have a 2-month inventory on the market, a 2-month inventory. So sellers, if you're thinking that you want to sell, now is a fabulous time to sell. Now is a great time to get your market sold like in a heartbeat. So guys, I just want to give you those fun facts to let you know that we're still in the seller's market. Properties are still pretty much at a premium. So we expect those within the next 6 months. We expect that there'll be much more property coming in the market and value may stabilize. Interest rate hopefully goes down, but we still got maybe 1 or 2 more rates to go. But we hope to have much more inventory on the market within the next 6 months. So this is especially the sellers. So just a little fun fact so you guys know if you're planning on buying or selling. And by the way, keep in mind for buyers, there's still free money from the state available. There's still the IDA program that's available. Some banks has a $6,500 grant. You can still get, IDA has a $7,500 grant. So you can still get money if you're kind of struggling, not sure exactly what you want to do, if you want to buy or sell. But money's still available. You can get property for almost no money down. You can still do that. One of the facts I wanted to give you guys, some of the banks are realizing that they're not doing the 640 credit score anymore. I've talked to a number of banks who are down now to 580. So if you get a 580 credit score, some banks are now taking on those 580 credit score and getting them done because of the fact that money is available, but property is not so much available. So banks are now deciding to be more flexible. So guys, just tidbit for today. But today we're talking about roofs, and today we have JR Adjusters with us, and we have Danny Raffo, and we have Abner Solari. And these guys will talk about insurance, about roof, and so we'll jump right into it. And tell me about yourself. You can introduce yourself, and then
Okay. Yeah.
this is Danny and Abner.
Thank you for having us here. Well, I'm Danny Raffo. I represent JR Adjusters. We're a licensed public adjuster firm here in Illinois. We work Chicagoland. Basically, I'll give a quick explanation of what a public adjuster is. You know, public adjuster firms and individuals are licensed by the state to represent homeowners, right, on any type of claim. Except health claims. Obviously, we don't get involved, of course, health, but car crashes, property. We specifically specialize in property damage, so to commercial buildings, residential buildings, and our goal is basically to review your contract or your policy that you signed with your insurance company and get the best settlement for you based on the terms outlined in the policy. Most homeowners, aren't insurance experts. Most haven't even read their policy. So that's why our job is so important, because before you even get involved in the process of a claim, you should first read your policy. to see.
Most of us don't do that.
Yeah, most people don't do it. It's like
And the agent, which is supposed to be your ally at that point,
Right.
which is supposed to read all the little letters, does not do the due diligence.
That's true.
That's why public adjusters is actually an evil need, you could say, which we help the homeowners be assessed with all their coverage that is properly, and to give them the advice of when to handle a claim, when to file a claim, when to not file a claim. So we basically work for the commercial landlords, industrial landlords, to help them go through the process smoothly, advise them, and coverage-wise, it's not all about claims. It's be protected, prevent you not cure in the future.
But I'm sure, now, of course, it's Abner, you're from the JR also.
Yes.
Right? Now, I ran into public adjuster 15 years ago, so I had a fire. Luckily I called my attorney, and I said, hey, I had a fire, and he's like, hold on, don't do anything, call this guy.
Yeah.
And so, when I got there, just a story I had, when I got there, there's so many adjusters there. And they all pushed me up against the corner and said, hey, sign. I'm like, hold on. The guy over there will handle me. And they were all kind of like, what do you mean the guy? I'm like, yeah, well, my attorney said that guy, so I'm going to go with what my attorney said. But it was good because, this guy came in, they did the work, they did do the work, they boarded up and got the electrical back on and all that good stuff. And I had a good settlement. I actually could have paid him, very important, I could have paid him and got quite a good settlement for myself that I could have redid my home property. So I totally agree that if and I did refer, a couple years ago, when my friend had a fire in his garage, and he actually got a public adjustment, and I said, hold on, call my guy. You know what I'm saying? So, and he was happy. He was actually saying, hey, you know what? Thank you for doing that, because he didn't know anything about it. The guy came out, fixed his garage, put some money in his pocket. He was happy. So you guys are, as you said, evil lead.
You could say an evil lead, but
You're not an evil lead, but you're a lead that.
the thing is, Leroy, the insurance is supposed to take care of their insurance,
Right.
and it doesn't happen like that all the time. So we are there to advocate for the insured, right?
Mm-hmm.
It happened. I've had a lot of cases where basically we've gone out and a claim was already filed by the insured, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got paid. They had their whole roof blown out. They got paid $19. We came out. We grabbed a hold of the claim. We actually asked for a reinspection, and we got everything approved. What was the difference when she filed a claim and we will file a claim when we re-inspected? Same damage.
Same damage.
Same damage. The insurance sometimes takes advantage that it's not your area of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
So they pay you out and you don't have any way to contest it, right? It's like, you're real estate, you probably can lecture me about real estate, but you don't know anything about adjusting or fighting with the insurance. So basically that's what an adjuster does. They advocate for the homeowner and they max out the estimate, or even when the insurance is doing wrong, because that's wrong, like the scenario I just gave you, that's the wrong case, where they're not taking care of it, they're not complying with their contract, because a insurance policy is a contract between the insured and the insurance company. And sometimes they break that contract.
And it's important to remember that insurance contracts or policy, they're good faith contracts, right? So you're paying your insurance and they're not giving you anything back. The only thing they're giving you back is the promise that if you ever need them, they're going to be there, right? And a lot of times they're not actually there, right? You file a claim and they come out and they say, no, and your only option, most people think their only option is to go to an attorney. And most people don't want to do that because it takes a lot of time and it's very expensive, right? So that's how the insurance kind of scares off, a lot of their policyholders. Whereas, since we are only allowed to work off insurance settlements amounts, we're a cheaper and also quicker alternative because, as opposed to an attorney, we want to get the claim moving as fast as possible because we only get paid once you get paid, right? So,
Versus the attorney, as long as it goes.
yeah, the longer they go, the more they have to show up in court.
Just so then, so are you saying, JR Justice, so you guys, you're mentioning some of the things that you guys do, whether it's fire, car, are you guys do all that also? Is that a list or you only specialize in in roofs?
Well, we handle absolutely all type of claims, weather related or any type of peril that's covered under your property policy, right? Like water damage, broken pipes, name it. If it's in your policy, if the peril's covered in your policy, we'll deal with it, you know? But mainly, what's the most, let's say, peril that's the most common peril here in Chicagoland? It's Windy City.
Yeah.
We get a lot of hail. We get ice dam, and we get fires also. So those are basically but we cover all a broad amount of perils. But those are the main ones that we use, and we work a lot with commercial owners, especially because the roofs are the thing that first gets damaged. Whether because it's wear and tear or the roof is old and it's been affected by hail, been affected by wind. So what we do is that we go and inspect the property, because not all properties, even though it's leaking, even though it's damaged, it's worth filing a claim.
Okay.
So sometimes it's best to use a strategy, fix it out of pocket, because you're not going to get the result that you want with the claim. But most homeowners, what they do is, I got damaged, I'm going to file a claim. And they really don't know if that claim is going to fly or not. So that's why a public adjuster is so important, because he's an expert in letting you know and if that claim is worth pursuing or not.
Okay.
So basically, like a public adjuster is like an attorney for catastrophes, for perils. You could kind of say.
As you mentioned, you work with a lot of commercial, but most, for some of the folks that's going to be listening, they're actually homeowners. So you want them to call you also, correct?
Yeah.
Especially, yeah.
Residential, yeah, we do a lot of residential as well.
We would say 50-50.
Okay.
We have a bunch of customers of residential. We grab everything that comes our way. Like no customer is less important than another one. If you have just a single family home or you got a commercial with 100 units, you're the same. We take care of you the same.
And residential claims are normally go by a lot faster. They're smoother. The contracts are normally better written, so the insurance company is taking on less risk for the most part with a residential claim. So they give you like more benefits per se, whereas commercial policies, they normally have more nuances, right? More coverages that are excluded. So I mean, both of them are very important to review, but residential claims normally go by a little bit faster.
So let me ask you, so when you buy a policy, anyone buying a policy, is there certain things you need to look for?
Oh yes.
All right, let's go, because I figured that. Tell me some of those things that you should look for. And of course, we're talking to Jared Justice, so if you got a pen, you want to write these down, write these down, because I'm sure these guys will give you a list of stuff that you must go through your policy, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because a lot of us, to be honest, we don't go through our policy. I don't go through my policy.
Look, I have a renter's policy and I have a landlord's policy. I didn't go through the policy.
Okay.
Because nobody reads the little letter. When I buy a car, I don't go through the whole contract. We never read the little letter.
No,
that's our job to do it. We read it for the homeowners to see that they're covered, and that's where everything starts with the policy.
And even if you don't have the time to read like the whole policy and everything, there are certain things that you can mention to your agent while purchasing the policy.
Okay, such as?
So, for example, one thing that's basic, very important, you want a replacement cost
Right.
policy, right? If you have only an actual cash.
Okay, hold on, because some people don't know what we're talking about. Replacement cost means?
So, replacement cost is basically the cost of what it is currently is to repair. Let's say your roof blows off, what it costs today to replace your roof.
Gotcha.
Okay, actual cash value is that cost minus the depreciation. So let's say you had that roof, it's supposed to last 30 years, and you've had it for 10 years. So the insurance company is going to take off those 10 years in depreciation, right? And that's the actual cash value. So some policies will only allow you to recover the actual cash value.
Okay.
Right? So you're stuck with basically, if your roof is supposed to last 30 years and you've used it for 10, you're stuck with 30% basically of the bill of what it's going to cost to repair that. So that's something that's basic and very, very important.
Yeah, to make it a little bit more simple, like in numbers, so let's say people can understand, let's say you have a $30,000 roof, right? The insurance, the replacements cost are $30,000. But they depreciate, let's say the roof is 20 years old, they're going to depreciate at least 20%, something like that. They'll give you $10,000 at the actual cash value. If you have an ACV policy, you're only getting those $10,000, you're not getting the 20 after. If you have an RC policy, they'll give you the actual cash value initially. Once you incur on the replacement, they'll release depreciation and you get the 30,000. So that's the
So hold on, you going too fast.
Sorry.
What's the RC and what's the?
Okay, so, yeah, the replacement cost is the actual cost.
Okay, so you always want to do the replacement
You
cost.
always want to do a replacement.
Now, quick question, listen, I gotta treat this like nobody, like, people don't know. So if you look at your policy and your roof is 10 years in the bill, your roof is bad, and you have a replacement cost policy, will the insurance company cover the roof? If it's damaged?
If it was damaged by a covered
By
repair.
by a covered repair.
Okay, which is pretty much.
Most of the time.
Most things.
As long as it's covered by then, we can get a new roof.
Yes.
If it's covered by like wind
Exactly.
Hail,
or
fire.
fire.
One thing is the peril, and the other thing is settlement. You got peril is covered by wind, and the settlement is RC. So you need both things. You need to have a peril that's actually covered by your insurance policy, and replacement cost in your insurance policy to get the full. Because one thing is going and having the peril. Okay, the peril is real. You're covered under this peril, but you have an RC, so we're going to pay you completely. So you need both things. But RC is something that you want to have.
So when you say, so just to be clear, the peril is not for the wind and all that.
Yeah, it's what damage.
What damage? But that's covered under the replacement cost policy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You want the type of settlement you're going to get.
So yeah, the first step when you file a claim is to establish the peril. What damaged your property, and do we agree with insurance or not that that's what caused the damage?
Sure. Okay.
Once you have that, then you reach a settlement, right? And that settlement, their payout, if you have a replacement cost policy, they're going to pay out the full amount of that settlement. They'll give you part of it up front and part of it after you're done, like after you incur the cost. If you have an actual cash value policy, they're only going to give you the upfront amount. You will not recover the depreciation.
So a lot of homeowners.
So it's very important.
They file a claim, minus deductible, minus depreciation. They end up with an amount they can't even really use to do the replacement. And sometimes they don't know that because the agent didn't inform them. And then they're trying to save expenses. You know, we are all trying, and I think we can agree, we're all trying to like save expenses and not paying additional bills. But when it comes to insurance, it's best to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
I'd say another item that's very important that often does not get discussed is also code and ordinance and law coverage.
So let's explain it. Code.
Building codes.
Building code, and nowadays, especially in a big city like Chicago, building practices and the way and codes are often being changed for environmental reasons, safety reasons, right? Just technology has advanced a lot. So every few years there's changes to the building code. So let's say you had a roof, right? A flat roof. Modified bitumen, like most roofs here in Chicago. You have wind damage to that. Your insurance comes out, says, okay, we're going to replace the roof. You pull up the roof and you only have 1 inch of insulation, right?
Or none.
And before 2015, or no insulation, right? Before 2015, that was a normal practice. Roofers didn't used to install insulation.
Okay.
Now, since 2015, the city of Chicago requires a certain amount of inches of insulation to go under the roof, right, per code. When the contractor goes to pull the permit to replace the roof, they're going to tell them, okay, your permit is approved, but you have to follow all these codes, building codes. One of these building codes is that you have to have 5.2 really inches of insulation. So if you only have 1 inch and you don't have building code coverage, your insurance company is only going to cover for that 1 inch. But the contractor still has to install 5. So you're going to be stuck with a bill for the other 4, right?
Okay.
Whereas if you have this, ordinance and law, it's called in some policies, or building code coverage in others, then the insurance will cover any additional costs that the contractor has based on a city ordinance or law.
Okay.
It's called code upgrade. Ordinance of law, building codes, and code upgrade is all the same thing. The wording changes
Depending on the...
Is that Illinois or that just Chicago?
No,
that's all Illinois. There's some cities, like city of Chicago, does not enforce always the code, but they do, let's say, require. But there's other cities like Elgin or Aurora or Cicero, where actually an inspector goes out and sees that you're actually doing. That's why city of Chicago, some people were able like to, do some things that were not out of code. They put 10 layers on the roof. That's not, don't do that, because that's too much weight, plus all the snow, etc. But in a city like Cicero or Elgin, basically the inspector's going to go out. So they're going to look at what you're doing, and they're going to enforce it. Chicago doesn't enforce it that much for residential. They do enforce it for commercial. But you always, like these buildings are 100 years old. They're not up to code. So when you try to incur on the replacement, you always want to put it up to code. It's not really good for, let's say, if you're ever selling the property in the future, you can state that, hey, my roof is up to code, 5 inches of insulation. It's better for like it's going to evaluate the property. And also, if you're going to stay with the property, you're going to enjoy, let's say, the benefits of having everything up to code with the city.
So do you suggest that people go back to their policy and say, do I have, or go back to their insurance company and say, hey, do I have code upgrade?
Definitely. If they want to do it on their own, they could just ask their agents or call their insurance and ask them for a declaration page. A declaration page basically is a summary of all the coverages, so you don't have to read the whole policy, the 100 pages of your policy. Just request a declaration page. It's going to be 1 page, and if you don't see in one of those lines building code or ordinance and law, call your agent and say, look, it's been brought to my attention, I don't have this coverage, I would like to get it added. It's normally, on most policies, not very expensive, and something, like we just explained, definitely worth having.
Yeah, if you see, like, sometimes you're going to pay 10 or 20 more bucks a month, or 50 more bucks a month, but if you sum it up, what you're going to get versus what you're actually paying out of pocket, it's worth it. It's
Absolutely. So do you guys do you normally review that for folks, or if they want to call you and say, can you just now?
No, look, we're here to help. If you guys want to call us, we're not only here to file claims. We're here to help you out from A to Z. If we just have to review at the beginning of your policy to make sure that your policy has the coverage you need, we're good. Whenever you have a peril, give us a call.
While you're at that, just give me a number so they know how to get a hold of you.
Well, my number is 630-994-7148. 630-994-7148. I'm the field adjuster and the inspector that handles the first initial contact with the customer, right? I go to their offices, I review their policies, I review the damages, and I'll assess them to let them know what things they need to fix in their property. And after the office, Daniel is actually one of our senior adjusters, so he mostly meets with the adjusters, supplements, and we have a lot of other adjusters in the office. But I'm mainly the first contact in the field with the homeowners or commercial owners. So again, the number is 630-994-7148. Give us a call. We're happy to review your policy, inspect your property, if you need to file a claim, and to assess you in any way we can.
Even if you don't need to file a claim, we can help you out with just making sure you're covered. That's the whole point of having insurance. You want to make sure that you're covered if you need it. And a lot of policies, unfortunately, don't provide that coverage up front. A lot of agents will not be upfront to you because obviously they want to sell you a product. So if they add on different, coverages, maybe it goes up, a little bit monthly, and it's harder for them to sell it to you. So
and that's really cool because a lot of folks I know, they have their policy and they don't want to go through the insurance, or they don't know how to do it, and they're like, my roof is leaking, but you got insurance, you call the insurance. Because I've actually, and in all fairness, Jared just had to work for Mills Realty, and he's still working for Mills Realty on a number of different property, and we find these guys very helpful in trying to get some of our property to a point where it's all open running property. So in disclosures, I wanted to bring them on because I find them to be very helpful in what they're doing for me. So I wanted to pass it along to you guys. But at the same time, many folks, they still have a home. They do not want to call the insurance company. They feel like their insurance policy is going to go up because they don't want to be bothered with it, and they try to get someone to patch it up. And it happens all the time. I'm seeing it all the time. And so for those of you listening, we want to let you know, hey, these guys are here to help. So please call them and please connect with them. As we said, we can always bring you guys the best of the best. Now, what are other riders that we think that you guys may need other than maybe we talked about a replacement rider or make sure you have a replacement. Is there anything intricate inside the policy that you think maybe check on this one item?
Well, basically, and I don't know if you agree, Daniel, RC settlement and building codes is going to basically cover you almost the entirety of the perils that you have. So
RC is the
replacement cost
and
building codes, ordinance of law, or a code upgrade, whatever it's called. But there's additional things like if you live in a place where you have floods, probably want an additional. But it all depends where you live. But RC and ordinance of law basically is going to cover for the settlement, right?
If you want to get I guess a little bit nitpicky, it's something that's pretty simple. Is just make sure the one clause you do review is the appraisal clause.
Okay.
So basically, what the appraisal is, it's the one if you have a disagreement with your insurance company. So we go out, we meet with them. They say there is wind damage, but you say I need a new roof. They say no, you can repair your roof. For example, they offer you $10,000. You're asking for $50,000. The only way to solve that difference in most policies is appraisal.
So appraisal clause. You want to have appraisal? Is that a
Well, all policies have to have the appraisal clause. It's just different companies word it differently.
Okay.
Right? So you just want to make sure you do read the appraisal process, the appraisal clause, which that in a way that the insurance company makes that appraisal simple, so that they don't put a bunch of conditions to the appraisal, but they'll just say, if we have a disagreement, then you do have the option of going to appraisal. Some insurance companies really condition, so they don't want you to have another option if you have a disagreement with them.
Okay.
Right. So the appraisal is your option. If you can't reach an agreement with the insurance company, at least you have another option. So just make sure that that their agent reviews the appraisal clause and that it's pretty straightforward.
And to address the concerns that you were talking about, we don't want to touch our policy, our premium is going to go up, let's just patch the roof. These are really valid concerns for the insured. That's why before filing a claim, it's always good to call a public adjuster, have them review your policy, have them review the property to see the damage. But one thing is, patching a roof, it's a chronic thing.
Correct.
If you have an old roof, you're going to be doing that every year, 2 or 3 times a year. You want a hassle-free roof. So by going through insurance, even though your premium goes up a little bit, well, you're going to save so much money out of, let's say, having to do emergency repairs, the water coming in, damaging your drywall. How much are you actually saving?
True.
So that's something that you really have to take in mind. A full roof replacement is better than having, okay, I'm saving money, I don't want a full roof replacement, I don't want to go through insurance, this is such a hassle. But then you're going to be with that chronic problem all the time. So it's like thinking a little bit smarter and a little bit longer in a hassle-free, environment. That's what we want.
Let's do this. We're running out of time, so guys, again, we'll come back next week with these guys. I know that this is a topic that all of the homeowners want to know about. So we want you to share this podcast. We want to leave us a message, let us know exactly what you want to know about roofs. We'll connect with these guys, or you can connect them at their phone number. They'll give it to you. Again, what's the number?
The number again is 630-994-7148.
And your number is anything?
No, mine is 630-995-2070.
All right, guys. Again, this is the Mill Social Talk podcast. We'll continue with JR Adjusters, but we'll do this next week. So listen for the next episode. Please share, please follow us. Again, Mills Realty, and we're the Mills.